The cardboard box wasn't heavy, just a coffee mug, a dying cactus, and 5 years of invisible work. Ethan Brooks walked out of Titan Core Solutions for the last time, carrying the only proof he'd ever been there. Behind him, the security system he'd built from nothing blinked green across 40 floors of glass and steel. Nobody knew his name was buried in every line of code. Nobody cared that he'd traded his wife's last months for this job. And nobody suspected that in 72 hours, the whole thing would burn. If you're watching from Chicago, New York, or anywhere across America, hit that like button and drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. The March wind off Lake Michigan had teeth. Ethan hunched his shoulders against it, one hand steadying the cardboard box, the other gripping Lily's small fingers as they walked toward the bus stop. His daughter's purple backpack bounced with each step, the unicorn patch catching streetlight. "Daddy, why'd you bring the cactus home?" Ethan looked down at the small, succulent poking out of the box. Someone had given it to him 3 years ago. He couldn't remember who. It had survived on his desk through neglect, fluorescent lighting, and the kind of benign indifference that defined most of his interactions at Titan Core. Didn't want to leave it behind. But it's ugly. Yeah, Ethan shifted the box. But it's ours now. Lily seemed to accept this logic. At 5 years old, she accepted most things with the kind of easy trust that terrified him daily. The bus groaned to a stop, hydraulics hissing, and Ethan let her climb up first. She chose a seat near the back and pressed her face against the cold window. "Are we still getting pizza?" "Yeah, Bug, still getting pizza." It was Friday. Friday meant pizza and a movie, usually something animated that Lily had seen 40 times but still laughed at like it was brand new. The routine held them together, had held them together since Sarah died. Ethan set the box on his lap and watched the city slide past. The loop gave way to neighborhoods, streetlights pooling on wet pavement, corner stores with security bars, apartment buildings stacked like shipping containers. His phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again. Lily glanced over. "Is it Grandma?" "Probably." He pulled the phone out, not his mother. A number he didn't recognize. The preview showed part of a message. System failure. Cascade detected. Authentication servers. He deleted it without reading the rest. "Not Grandma," he said. Lily turned back to the window. Outside, Chicago scrolled past in its messy, indifferent vastness. Ethan let his head rest against the cold glass and closed his eyes. 72 hours earlier, the firing had been quick. Marcus Vane didn't waste time on preamble. He stood behind his mahogany desk, hands in his pockets, expression set somewhere between boredom and mild distaste. Behind him, floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Chicago skyline like a corporate painting. "We're restructuring. Your position's been eliminated." Ethan stood in the center of the office, hands loose at his sides. He'd been called up from the engineering floor with no warning, no context, just a Slack message. "Marcus wants to see you. Now." "Restructuring," Ethan repeated. "Budget cuts, you understand." "Which department?" Marcus blinked. "I'm sorry?" "Which department is being restructured?" A pause. Marcus pulled his hands from his pockets and placed them flat on the desk, leaning forward slightly. The posture of a man used to being obeyed. "I don't owe you a breakdown of internal strategy, Brooks. Your severance package is generous. HR will walk you through the details." Ethan didn't move. He felt something cold settle in his chest. Not anger, not shock. Something older. The same feeling he'd had sitting in a hospital waiting room 3 years ago, watching a doctor walk toward him with that particular expression people wear when they're about to destroy your life. "How long have I worked here?" Marcus straightened. 5 years? Almost 6. And in those 6 years, how many critical system failures have we had? That's not relevant. "None," Ethan said. "Zero. Because the authentication architecture doesn't break. It was built not to break." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I'm aware of our infrastructure's reliability." "You should be. You take credit for it in every board meeting." The air in the room changed. Marcus walked around the desk slowly, stopping a few feet from Ethan. He was taller, broader, someone who'd played college football and still carried himself like he expected to be tackled. "Be very careful what you're implying." Ethan looked at him, really looked. Marcus Vane was 43, Harvard MBA, 3 years as Titan Corps' chief technology officer before taking a VP role. His salary was public record, north of $400,000 a year, not counting stock options. The trade publications called him a visionary. He had a corner office and a secretary who scheduled his lunch. Ethan made $62,000 a year. He took the bus to work. His daughter wore hand-me-down shoes. "I'm not implying anything," Ethan said quietly. "I'm just stating facts." Then here's a fact." Marcus stepped closer. "You're fired. Clean out your desk. Security will escort you out in 30 minutes. The box had been smaller than Ethan expected. 5 years collapsed into a coffee mug with a faded logo, a handful of pens, a stress ball someone gave him during a team-building exercise he'd skipped, and the cactus. One of the younger engineers, Danny, maybe, or David, had stopped by while Ethan was packing. "Hey man, this is bullshit." Ethan didn't look up. "It's fine." "It's not fine. You built half the systems we run on." "Doesn't matter." "Of course it matters." The kid was indignant in the way only someone under 25 could be. "You should fight this. Go to HR, file a complaint, I don't know, something." Ethan taped the box shut. "I've got a daughter to pick up from school." "Seriously?" "Seriously." The kid stood there another moment, then walked away shaking his head. Ethan suspected he'd forget the whole interaction by Monday. People did. It was easier that way. Security met him in the elevator, a tired-looking woman in a blue uniform who clearly hated this part of her job. "I need your badge," she said. Ethan unclipped it from his belt and handed it over. She dropped it into a plastic bag without looking at it. "This way." They rode the elevator down in silence, walked through the lobby in silence, pushed through the glass doors into the cold March afternoon in silence. At the curb, she stopped. "For what it's worth, Rem," she said. "I'm sorry. It's not your fault." "Still sorry." She went back inside. Ethan stood on the sidewalk holding his box, watching people stream past. Nobody looked at him. Chicago had 8 million people, and he was invisible to every single one. His phone buzzed. Lily's school. He answered, "Mr. Brooks?" "This is Principal Chen." "Lily's fine, but she had a small incident on the playground." "What?" The incident turned out to be another girl pushing Lily off the swings. No serious injuries, just scraped palms and hurt feelings. Ethan sat in the principal's office while Lily pressed herself against his side, her small body still trembling. Principal Chen was kind. She always was. "The other child has been spoken to. We don't tolerate that behavior." "I know." Ethan rubbed Lily's shoulder. "Thank you." "Lily, do you want to tell your dad what happened?" Lily shook her head, face buried in Ethan's jacket. "She pushed me." "I know, Bug. She said my mom was gone because I was bad." Ethan's hand stilled. He looked at Principal Chen, who closed her eyes briefly. "We've addressed that," Chen said quietly. "Her parents have been called." Ethan wanted to say something, wanted to explain that kids were cruel because they didn't understand, that grief made people say terrible things, that it wasn't personal, but his throat had closed up, and all he could do was hold his daughter while she cried into his coat. They left 10 minutes later. Lily held his hand the whole way to the bus stop, silent except for occasional sniffles. Ethan carried the box in his other arm and tried not to think about the fact that he'd been fired, his daughter had been hurt, and he still needed to figure out dinner. "Pizza?" Lily asked as they waited. "Yeah, pizza. Small mercies." Victoria Hale took over Titan Core Solutions on a Monday morning in April. The announcement went out at 9 a.m. sharp. Email blast to all employees, Slack notification, mandatory all-hands meeting at 10. Victoria stood at the front of the conference room in a charcoal suit, dark hair pulled back, and told 400 people that she intended to run the company differently. "Transparency," she said. "Accountability. Results." Someone in the back coughed. Victoria ignored it. "I know many of you are skeptical. I'm 30 years old. I've been with Titan Core for 3 years. There are people in this room with more experience, more tenure, more reasons to be standing here instead of me." She paused, scanning the crowd. Most people avoided eye contact. A few watched her with open hostility. "But the board chose me because I'm not interested in maintaining the status quo. I'm interested in fixing what's broken. And if you've been here longer than 6 months, you know plenty is broken. Murmurs rippled through the room. Victoria let them settle. Department heads, I want reports on your current projects by end of week. If you're working on something that doesn't serve our core mission, kill it. If you're protecting someone who isn't pulling their weight, stop. And if you think you can wait me out, she smiled, sharp as glass. Don't. The meeting ended. People filed out in uncomfortable silence. Victoria watched them go, then turned to her assistant. Get me the org chart. I want to know who actually runs this place. Monsieur. Ethan heard about the new CEO from a LinkedIn post. He was sitting in a coffee shop 2 blocks from Lily's school, laptop open, trying to update his resume without feeling like he was drowning. Titan Core Solutions names Victoria Hale as CEO, youngest executive to lead a Fortune 500 cybersecurity firm. He stared at the photo. Victoria looked composed, confident, the kind of person who'd never had to choose between paying rent and buying groceries. He closed the browser tab and went back to his resume. Under experience, he'd written, Systems Engineer, Titan Core Solutions maintained authentication infrastructure and security protocols. It felt like a lie. Not because it was inaccurate, but because it was so catastrophically incomplete. He'd built the entire system from scratch, designed the architecture, wrote the core algorithms, debugged 10,000 edge cases, and spent 2 years living on 4 hours of sleep while his wife died slowly in a hospital bed. But he couldn't write that. Nobody would believe it. And even if they did, nobody would care. His phone buzzed. Text from his mother. Lily's asking if she can sleep over Saturday. I said yes. That okay? Ethan typed back, yeah, thanks. Another buzz. Different number. Mr. Brooks, this is Angela from Titan Core HR. We need to discuss your severance paperwork. Can you come in tomorrow? He stared at the message. Severance paperwork should have been handled the day he was fired. The fact that they were asking him to come back meant something had gone wrong. He didn't reply. Something had gone wrong. Victoria found out on a Thursday afternoon when the entire authentication system crashed for 6 minutes. 6 minutes didn't sound catastrophic until you realized Titan Core provided security infrastructure for 11 major hospitals, 43 financial institutions, and the Chicago public transit system. 6 minutes meant chaos. Her phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Calls from clients, board members, the CTO, the head of engineering. Victoria answered the CTO first. What happened? We don't know. Marcus Vane sounded rattled. The system just locked up. We're running diagnostics. How long until it's fixed? It already rebooted. Everything's back online. That's not an answer. We're investigating. Victoria ended the call and pulled up the incident report. The language was technical, dense, authentication tokens failing to generate, cascading errors across multiple subsystems, automatic rollback protocols engaging. She didn't understand half of it. She called the head of engineering. I need an explanation in English. The engineer, his name was Paul, sounded exhausted. Honestly, we're not sure. The system's built like a tank. It's not supposed to fail. But it did. Yeah. Who built it? Silence. Paul? That's complicated. Victoria felt something cold settle in her stomach. Uncomplicated. Officially, Marcus Vane designed and implemented the core architecture 5 years ago. He presented it to the board, got approval, oversaw deployment, and unofficially, another pause. Paul lowered his voice. There are author tags buried in the code, metadata that tracks who wrote what. Most of it's been scrubbed, but I found fragments. They don't point to Marcus. Who do they point to? A guy named Ethan Brooks. Used to work here, got fired about a month ago. Victoria wrote the name down. Get me everything we have on him. Okay. The file on Ethan Brooks was thin. 5 years of employment, mostly unremarkable performance reviews, no disciplinary issues, terminated without cause as part of a restructuring. His manager for the last 3 years had been Marcus Vane. Victoria read through it twice, then opened Titan Core's internal code repository and started searching. It took an hour, but she found them, tiny fragments of metadata that hadn't been scrubbed completely. Author tags, timestamps, commit messages. Initial Authentication Framework. E. Brooks. Rewrote token generation algorithm for scalability. E. Brooks. Fixed critical vulnerability in session management. E. Brooks. On and on. Hundreds of commits, thousands of lines of code, all pointing back to the same person. And then, about 4 years ago, the tags changed. Same code, same structure, but now attributed to Marcus Vane. Victoria sat back in her chair and stared at the screen. What the hell did you do, Marcus? Ethan was making dinner when the system crashed again. This time, it didn't reboot. Lily was at the table coloring, humming something tuneless, and Ethan was trying to convince Spaghetti not to stick to the bottom of a pot when his phone started buzzing. He ignored it. It kept buzzing. Daddy, your phone's being loud. I know, Bug. He drained the pasta, dumped sauce over it, and carried 2 bowls to the table. His phone buzzed again. He picked it up, ready to silence it, and saw 17 missed calls, 4 from unknown numbers, 13 from Titan Core. His stomach dropped. Eat your dinner, he told Lily, but please. She picked up her fork, watching him with big, worried eyes. Ethan stepped into the hallway and called the most recent number back. A woman answered immediately. Mr. Brooks? Yeah. This is Angela from HR. We've been trying to reach you. I saw. What's going on? The system's down. Authentication servers across the network. Engineering says they can't fix it without your help. Ethan closed his eyes. I don't work there anymore. We're aware. But Mr. Vane says you're the only one who understands the architecture well enough to... Mr. Vane fired me. Silence. Then quietly, I know. So tell him to figure it out himself. Mr. Brooks, Ethan ended the call. His hands were shaking. He stood in the hallway, breathing hard, trying to push down the anger rising in his chest like bile. The phone rang again. Different number. He answered. What? Mr. Brooks, this is Victoria Hale. I'm the CEO of Titan Core Solutions. Ethan blinked. Okay. I understand you built our authentication system. Who told you that? The code did. Her voice was calm, measured. I've been reviewing the repository. Your name is all over it. And then someone scrubbed it. Yes. Ethan waited. Victoria continued. I need your help. The system's failing and my engineers can't stabilize it. Hospitals are offline, banks are locked out. We have about 4 hours before this becomes a national news story. Then you should call Marcus. He's the genius who built it, right? Mr. Brooks, I have a daughter. I'm making her dinner. I don't work for you anymore. I know, and I'm sorry for what happened. Are you? Ethan's voice was flat. You've been CEO for what, 2 weeks? You didn't fire me. You probably didn't even know I existed. You're right, Victoria said. I didn't, but I do now. And I'm asking for your help. Not for Titan Core, but for the people depending on our systems. The nurse trying to access patient records. The bank customer locked out of their account. They didn't fire you. They don't deserve to suffer because of what Marcus did. Ethan leaned against the wall. In the kitchen, Lily was singing softly to herself, making up words. If I help, he said slowly, I want 3 things. Name them. First, you pay me. Contractor rate, billed by the hour, cash up front. Done. Second, Marcus stays away from me. I don't want to see him, talk to him, or hear his voice. Agreed. Third, Ethan paused. After this is fixed, I want the truth made public. I want everyone to know who actually built that system. The line went quiet for a long moment. Then Victoria said, I can't promise that without proof. I have proof. Then yes, if you help us fix this, I'll make sure the truth comes out. Ethan looked at Lily through the doorway. She'd gotten sauce on her chin and was trying to wipe it with her sleeve. I need 2 hours, he said. We don't have 2 hours. Then you better hope I work fast. He ended the call, walked back into the kitchen, and knelt beside Lily's chair. Hey, Bug, I need to do some work on my computer for a little while. Can you watch a movie? But we didn't finish dinner. I know. We will. I promise. But right now, I need you to be patient, okay? Lily studied his face seriously. Is everything okay? Yeah. Ethan kissed her forehead. Everything's okay. It was a lie, but it was the kind of lie that parents told to keep their children safe from the weight of the world. Lily seemed to accept it. She climbed down from her chair and padded into the living room. Ethan opened his laptop. But the authentication system wasn't technically broken, it was angry. Ethan could tell within 5 minutes of accessing the logs remotely. The architecture he'd built 5 years ago was designed with layers of redundancy, fail-safes stacked on fail-safes, alarms that triggered when something went wrong. But it was also designed to be maintained by someone who understood its logic, someone who knew which warnings mattered and which were noise. Marcus apparently had been ignoring the noise for years. Now the system was choking on its own alerts. Authentication tokens piling up in queues, session managers timing out, rollback protocols fighting each other. It was like watching a living thing try to breathe through a collapsed lung. Ethan started small, cleared the token backlog, reset the session managers, disabled the conflicting protocols. Within 20 minutes, the system stabilized. Within 40, it was purring again. His phone rang. Victoria. You fixed it. Temporarily. Ethan scrolled through error logs. You've got bigger problems. Tell me. Whoever's been maintaining this, Marcus, doesn't understand how it works. They've been patching over symptoms without addressing root causes. The whole thing's held together with duct tape and prayer. Can you fix it? I can, but it'll take time. How much time? Ethan did the math in his head. 2 weeks if I'm working full-time. Less if you give me access to the production environment. You'll have whatever you need. Victoria paused. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Thank me when it's done. He ended the call and closed his laptop. In the living room, Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, still wearing her purple backpack. Ethan lifted her carefully, carried her to bed, and tucked her in. Then he sat in the dark and tried not to think about the fact that he was about to walk back into the place that had destroyed him. The contract arrived the next morning. $20,000, paid up front, for 2 weeks of consulting work. Ethan read it 3 times, signed it, and sent it back. The money hit his account that afternoon. He stared at the number on his phone screen, 5 digits where there used to be 3, and felt something crack open in his chest. Not relief? Not quite, but something close. He took Lily to the grocery store and let her pick out the expensive cereal. Bought chicken that wasn't on sale. Splurged on ice cream. At the register, the total came to $73, and he didn't flinch. Daddy, you're smiling, Lily said. Am I? Yeah, you look happy. Ethan looked down at his daughter. She was holding a stuffed bear she'd found in the toy aisle. Clearance rack, $6, purple bow around its neck. You want that? Her eyes went wide. Really? Really? She clutched the bear to her chest like it might disappear if she let go. At 5 years old, she'd already learned that good things were temporary, that people left, that the world took more than it gave. Thank you, Daddy. You're welcome, Bug. They walked home through the spring afternoon, Lily chattering about her new bear's name, its favorite color, the adventures they'd have together. Ethan listened and felt something old and tired start to loosen in his chest. Maybe things could be different. Maybe. The Titan Core building looked different in the morning light. Ethan stood on the sidewalk staring up at 40 floors of glass and steel, watching his reflection fracture across the windows. A month ago, he'd walked out of those doors carrying everything he owned in a cardboard box. Now he was walking back in as the only person who could save them. The irony tasted like copper. Lily had stayed with his mother overnight. Before he'd dropped her off, she'd pressed the purple bear into his hands. For good luck, she'd said. I don't need a bear for good luck, Bug. Yes, you do. Everyone does. So now the bear was in his backpack, nestled next to his laptop in the flash drive containing 5 years of meticulously organized proof. Ethan adjusted the straps and pushed through the revolving doors. The lobby hadn't changed. Same marble floors, same security desk, same board guard scrolling through his phone. Ethan walked up and waited. The guard glanced up, then did a double take. Brooks? Yeah. Thought you got canned. I did. I'm back as a contractor. The guard's eyebrows climbed. He typed something into his computer, frowned, typed again. Huh. You're listed as authorized. Guess that's legit. He slid a visitor badge across the counter. Floor 32, someone's supposed to meet you. Star Wars spreadsheet. Ethan clipped the badge to his jacket and headed for the elevators. The visitor badge was white instead of blue, temporary instead of permanent, a small reminder that he didn't belong here anymore, if he ever had. The elevator climbed in silence. At floor 32, the doors opened onto chaos. Engineers clustered around monitors, voices overlapping, someone shouting about cascading failures while another person frantically rewrote code on a whiteboard. Coffee cups littered every surface. The air smelled like anxiety and stale pizza. Nobody noticed Ethan at first. He stood in the doorway watching the panic unfold, feeling oddly detached. These weren't his problems anymore, except they were, because he'd built the system they were desperately trying to save. You Brooks? Ethan turned. A woman in her mid-40s, gray streaking through dark hair, exhaustion carved into the lines around her eyes. She held a tablet against her chest like a shield. Yeah. Angela Chen. We talked on the phone. She stuck out her hand. Ethan shook it. Thanks for coming in. I know this is weird. That's one word for it. Angela almost smiled. Conference rooms this way. Victoria wants to meet with you before you start. They walked through the chaos toward a glass-walled conference room at the far end of the floor. Inside, Victoria Hale stood with her back to the door, phone pressed to her ear, staring out at the Chicago skyline. I understand your concerns, she was saying. Yes. I've brought in the original architect. We'll have a full post-mortem by end of day. A pause. No, I can't guarantee it won't happen again until we complete the audit. That's why we're doing the audit. Orcheits. Another pause, longer. I appreciate that. Thank you. She ended the call and turned around. Her eyes found Ethan immediately. Mr. Brooks, Miss Hale. They studied each other for a moment. Victoria looked younger than her press photos. 30, maybe, with dark hair pulled into a ponytail and the kind of sharp focus that came from too much coffee and not enough sleep. She wore black slacks and a white blouse, sleeves rolled to her elbows, no jewelry except a simple watch. Thank you for coming, she said. You're paying me $20,000. Didn't have much choice. You had every choice. You could have told me to go to hell. Still might. Victoria's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. Fair enough. She gestured to the table. Sit. We should talk before you start. Ethan sat. Angela placed the tablet on the table and quietly left, closing the door behind her. Through the glass walls, engineers continued their frantic work, oblivious. Victoria sat across from him. How bad is it? The system or the situation? Both. Ethan leaned back in his chair. The system's salvageable. Barely. Someone's been running it into the ground for years, but the core architecture's solid. I can fix it. And the situation? That depends on what you want to know. Victoria folded her hands on the table. I want to know why Marcus Vane fired you. I want to know how you ended up building a $1 billion security infrastructure for $60,000 a year. And I want to know why you didn't fight back. Mata said. That's 3 questions. Answer them anyway. Ethan looked at her, really looked. Victoria Hale didn't blink, didn't fidget, didn't do any of the small performative things people usually did when they wanted something. She just waited. Marcus fired me because I was a liability, Ethan said finally. I knew too much. As long as I was around, there was a chance someone would figure out he stole my work. Did he? Steal your work? Yeah. Can you prove it? Ethan pulled the flash drive from his backpack and set it on the table. Everything's on here. Original design documents with my signature. Email chains, contracts, commit history showing the progression of the code. Timestamps proving I wrote the core framework 6 months before Marcus presented it to the board. Victoria picked up the flash drive, turning it over in her fingers. Why didn't you use this before? Because I didn't care. Bullshit. The word landed like a slap. Ethan blinked. Victoria leaned forward. You built something incredible, she said. Something that protects hospitals, banks, infrastructure. You should have cared. Anyone would have cared. My wife was dying. The words came out flat, empty. Victoria went still. Cancer, Ethan continued. Stage 4. The oncologist said she had 6 months, maybe a year if we tried experimental treatment. The treatment cost $40,000. Insurance wouldn't cover it. So you sold the system. I sold the system. Marcus came to me with a contract, $50,000 up front, 20% royalties on any future licensing deals. I signed it the same day. Didn't read the fine print, didn't negotiate, just signed and used the money to pay for Sarah's treatment. Did it work? She lived another 8 months, most of it in a hospital bed. Ethan's voice didn't waver. He'd told this story enough times that it felt like reciting facts about someone else's life. She died 3 days before Lily's 2nd birthday. I went back to work a week later because I had bills to pay and a daughter to raise. Marcus was already telling people he'd designed the system himself. And you let him. I did. Why? Ethan met her eyes. Because fighting would have meant lawyers, depositions, months of my life spent proving something everyone already believed. Because I was a single father working 60-hour weeks and barely keeping my head above water. Because the world doesn't care about what's fair, it cares about what's easy. Victoria set the flash drive down carefully. I care. You say that now. I mean it. We'll see. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside the conference room, someone shouted something about packet loss. An alarm started beeping. Victoria didn't look away from Ethan. What do you need from me? She asked. Access to the production environment, a workspace where I won't be bothered, and Marcus stays away. Done. Anything else? Yeah. Ethan stood up. When this is over, I want my name back. I want every piece of documentation corrected. I want the patents reassigned. I want the technical papers rewritten. I want anyone who ever worked on this system to know who actually built it. Victoria stood as well. You'll have it, I promise. Don't make promises you can't keep. I don't. Ethan studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Where's my workspace? They set him up in a small office on the 34th floor, far enough from the chaos below to work in peace, close enough to the servers to access everything he needed. The room had a desk, a chair, 2 monitors, and a window overlooking Lake Michigan. Ethan plugged in his laptop and got to work. The system was worse than he'd thought. Marcus hadn't just neglected maintenance. He'd actively made things worse. Shortcuts layered on shortcuts, patches that created new vulnerabilities, entire subsystems rewritten by people who clearly didn't understand what they were doing. It was like watching someone perform surgery with a hammer. Ethan started with the authentication core, the piece of the system that handled user logins and security tokens. It was the foundation everything else built on, which meant if it failed, everything failed. And right now, it was failing in slow motion. He worked through lunch, barely noticing when Angela brought him a sandwich he didn't eat. The code required his full attention. Every line connected to 10 others. Every function nested inside 3 more. The whole thing a careful balance of performance and security that had taken him 2 years to perfect. By 3 in the afternoon, he'd identified the main problems. By 5, he'd started fixing them. By 7, when most of the office had gone home, he was deep in the kind of focused trance that made time meaningless. A knock on the door pulled him out of it. Victoria stood in the doorway holding 2 cups of coffee. Thought you might need this. Ethan blinked at her. What time is it? Almost 8. Shit. He grabbed his phone. 3 missed calls from his mother. He called back immediately. Hey, sorry. Ethan, honey, it's fine. Lily's asleep. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. I'm fine. Work ran late. At the place that fired you? It's complicated. His mother sighed. The sound carried 30 years of worry. It always is with you. Are you eating? Yes, Mom. Liar. There's leftover pot roast in my fridge. Take it home when you pick up Lily tomorrow. I will. Thanks. Love you. Love you too, sweetheart. Don't work too hard. He ended the call and looked up. Victoria was still standing in the doorway. Your mother sounds nice, she said. She is. Ethan took one of the coffee cups. It was still hot, steam curling off the surface. Thanks for this. No problem. Victoria didn't leave. She stood there looking uncertain, which seemed wrong for someone who radiated authority. Can I ask you something? You're the CEO. You can do whatever you want. Not about work, About your daughter. Ethan went still. What about her? Earlier, you said you were barely keeping your head above water. Past tense, is that still true? Why do you care? Because if we're going to work together, I need to know you're okay. And if you're not okay, I need to know what I can do to fix it. Ethan stared at her. Most people didn't ask questions like that. Most people didn't want to know the answer. We're fine, he said finally. Better than we were. The 20,000 helps. Good. Victoria shifted her weight. Look, I know this is weird, you coming back here, but I want you to know I'm not Marcus. I don't steal credit. I don't screw over the people who make this company work. And if you tell me something needs to happen, I'll make it happen. Even if it makes you look bad? Especially then. Ethan didn't know what to say to that. Victoria seemed to understand. She nodded once and turned to leave. Victoria. She stopped. Thank you for the coffee and the rest of it. You're welcome. She left. Ethan sat alone in the office, drinking coffee that tasted better than it had any right to, and tried to remember the last time someone in power had given a damn about whether he was okay. He couldn't. The next 3 days blurred together. Ethan arrived at Titan Core at 7 every morning, worked until 9 at night, went home to his empty apartment, and slept 5 hours before doing it again. His mother kept Lily during the week, which meant he only saw his daughter on video calls where she showed him drawings and told him about the cartoons she'd watched. When are you coming home, Daddy? Soon, Bug, I promise. You always say soon. I know. I'm sorry. Lily held up a new drawing. 3 stick figures, one tall, one small, one with long hair. This is us at the park. Ethan looked at the figure with long hair. Who's that? The nice lady from your work. You said she gave you coffee. I mentioned that once. I know, but she sounds nice. Does she have kids? I don't know, Lily. You should ask her. I'm not going to ask her. Why not? Because it's weird. Lily considered this. Grandma says you should have more friends. Grandma says a lot of things. She's usually right, though. Ethan couldn't argue with that. He said goodnight, promised to pick Lily up on Friday, and went to bed feeling like the world's worst father. On Thursday afternoon, the system stabilized. Ethan ran the final diagnostics, checked the error logs, verified that every subsystem was communicating properly. Everything came back green. He sat back in his chair and felt absolutely nothing. 5 days of work. 80 hours of debugging, recoding, testing. The authentication infrastructure that powered half of Chicago's critical services was purring like a kitten again, and all Ethan felt was tired. He called Victoria. It's done. Already? I said 2 weeks. I lied. It took 5 days. Silence. Then, you're telling me the system's fixed? Yeah, you'll want to run your own tests, but everything's stable. I've documented all the changes and left notes on the parts that still need long-term attention. I don't know what to say. Thank you, Works. Thank you. Victoria paused. Can you come down to my office? Now? Ethan took the elevator down to the executive floor. Victoria's office was corner suite, glass walls, the same view of Lake Michigan he had 30 floors up. She stood at the window when he entered, then turned around. I need to show you something, she said. She pulled up a video on her computer and turned the screen toward him. Security footage dated 3 weeks ago. The office kitchen. Marcus Vane standing near the coffee maker, talking to someone off camera. That's you, Victoria said. Ethan watched his own grainy image pour coffee into a chipped mug. Marcus was saying something. The footage had no sound, but Ethan remembered the conversation. Marcus had asked about a bug in the authentication system. Ethan had explained the fix. Marcus had nodded, walked away, and taken credit for it in the next board meeting. So look at this. Victoria skipped forward in the footage. 2 days later, same kitchen. Marcus talking to an engineer Ethan didn't recognize. Marcus was gesturing emphatically, clearly explaining something technical. The engineer was taking notes. Victoria paused the video. Marcus has been doing this for years, finding people who know more than him, extracting information, repackaging it as his own expertise. You weren't the first. You were just the most valuable. Why are you showing me this? Because I'm going to fire him, and I want you to know why. Ethan stared at her. You're firing your CTO because of me? I'm firing him because he's a fraud. Because he's cost this company credibility, stability, and probably millions in missed opportunities. Because keeping him means I'm complicit. Victoria closed the laptop. I wanted you to know before I do it, in case you have objections. Objections to you firing the man who destroyed my life? Some people prefer to handle these things quietly. I'm not some people. No, Victoria said. You're not. Marcus Vane was fired on Friday morning. Ethan heard about it from Angela, who stopped by his office with the news and a smile she tried to hide. Effective immediately. Security escorted him out 20 minutes ago. How'd he take it? About as well as you'd expect. A lot of yelling, threats of lawsuits. Victoria didn't blink. Ethan tried to imagine it. Marcus with his corner office and his Harvard degree and his $400,000 salary being walked out by security the same way Ethan had been. The symmetry should have felt satisfying. Instead, it just felt hollow. What happens now? He asked. Board meeting next week. Victoria's going to present the full investigation. Your name's all over it. Great. Angela tilted her head. You don't sound happy. I'm not unhappy. I'm just tired. Fair enough. She turned to leave, then stopped. For what it's worth, people are talking. About what Marcus did. About what you built. It matters. After she left, Ethan sat in the silence of his borrowed office and tried to figure out what he was supposed to feel. Vindication, relief, anger. All of it felt far away, like emotions happening to someone else. His phone buzzed, text from his mother. Lily wants to know if you're coming for dinner. I'm making lasagna. Ethan typed back, I'll be there. He shut down his laptop, packed up his things, and took the elevator down. In the lobby, the same board security guard glanced up. Heading out, Brooks? Yeah. See you Monday? Ethan paused. I don't know, maybe. Outside, the spring afternoon was warm and bright. People streamed past on the sidewalk, busy with their own lives, their own problems. Ethan stood on the corner and tried to remember what his life had looked like a week ago. Small, quiet, safe. Now it felt like standing on the edge of something he couldn't see. His phone rang. Victoria. Hey, she said. I know you're done for the week, but can you come back tomorrow? There's something I want to discuss. I'm supposed to spend the weekend with my daughter. Bring her. Ethan blinked. What? Bring Lily. We can talk while she explores the office. There's a whole floor of empty conference rooms she can use as a fort. You want me to bring my 5-year-old to a business meeting? I want you to not miss time with your daughter because of work. So, yes. Ethan didn't know what to say. Victoria filled the silence. 10 a.m. I'll have someone bring up breakfast. Does Lily like pancakes? Everyone likes pancakes. Good. See you tomorrow. She hung up. Ethan stood on the corner holding his phone, trying to process what had just happened. A CEO who cared whether he saw his daughter, who offered pancakes, who fired a corrupt executive and then asked Ethan to bring his kid to the office. It didn't make sense. People like Victoria didn't exist in his world, except apparently they did. Saturday morning, Lily wore her favorite purple dress and brought the bear Victoria had inadvertently paid for. Ethan tried to explain that they were going to his office, not a party, but Lily insisted. The bear needs to see where you work. The bear's a stuffed animal. So, she still needs to see. They took the bus downtown. Lily pressed her face against the window the entire ride, narrating every building, every car, every person they passed. By the time they reached Titan Core, she'd invented an entire story about a princess who lived in a glass tower and befriended a magical pigeon. Does the pigeon talk? Ethan asked. Of course he talks. All magical pigeons talk. Right, forgot. The lobby was mostly empty on Saturday. A different guard sat at the desk, older, reading a paperback with a dragon on the cover. He glanced up when they entered. Help you? Ethan Brooks. I'm supposed to meet Victoria Hale. The guard checked his computer. Yeah, you're on the list, 40th floor. He looked at Lily. That your daughter? Yeah. Cute kid. He slid 2 visitor badges across the counter. Have a good one. Lily clutched her badge like a prize. Daddy, I have a badge. I see that bug. Can I wear it forever? Probably not forever. But maybe for a week. We'll see. The elevator ride took forever in Lily time. She counted every floor out loud, bounced on her toes, asked 17 questions about what Victoria's office looked like. Ethan answered patiently, trying not to think about how strange this was. The 40th floor was executive territory. Thick carpets, expensive art, the kind of hushed atmosphere that suggested important decisions happened here. Lily's eyes went wide. It's fancy. Yeah, like a castle. Sort of. Victoria's assistant met them at the elevator. Young guy, early 20s, wearing khakis and a polo shirt. He smiled at Lily. You must be Lily. I'm David. Victoria's in the conference room. Follow me. They walked down a long hallway lined with photographs of Titan Core's history. Lily stopped to study each one, asking questions David answered with surprising patience. By the time they reached the conference room, Ethan half expected Victoria to have given up and left. But she was there, standing at the window, and she turned when they entered. She'd dressed down for the weekend, jeans and a sweater, hair loose around her shoulders. It made her look younger, more approachable. Good morning, she said. Morning. Ethan gestured to Lily. This is Lily. Lily stared at Victoria with unfiltered 5-year-old intensity. Are you the nice lady who gave my daddy coffee? Victoria blinked, then smiled. I am. Are you the artist who draws purple bears? How'd you know? Your dad mentioned it. Lily looked at Ethan accusingly. You talk about me? Sometimes. What did you say? That you're a pain in my neck and... Lily giggled. Victoria watched them with an expression Ethan couldn't quite read. After a moment, she gestured to the table where someone had set up a spread. Pancakes, eggs, bacon, fruit, orange juice. Hungry? Lily's eyes lit up. Can I have pancakes? That's why they're here. They ate together, Lily chattering about her magical pigeon story, while Victoria listened with what seemed like genuine interest. Ethan sat quietly, feeling out of place. This wasn't how business meetings worked. This wasn't how anything worked. After breakfast, Victoria pulled out a stack of drawings and crayons. I thought you might like to color while your dad and I talk. Is that okay? Lily looked at the crayons like they were treasure. Really? Really? Okay. She settled at the far end of the conference table, already absorbed in her drawings. Victoria turned to Ethan. Let's talk. They moved to the other end of the table, speaking quietly while Lily hummed to herself. I have an offer for you, Victoria said. Another contract? No. A job. Ethan went still. I already work here. As a contractor, I want to hire you full-time. Chief Security Architect. You'd lead the entire infrastructure division, build your own team, have final say on all technical decisions. What's the salary? $150 base plus equity. Ethan stared at her. $150,000. More than double what he'd made before. The kind of money that meant Lily could have new shoes. That meant he could fix the leak in their apartment ceiling. That meant breathing room. Why? He asked. Because you're the best person for the job. You barely know me. I know you built something incredible. I know you fixed a crisis in 5 days that my entire engineering team couldn't solve in 2 weeks. I know you didn't ask for recognition or revenge. You just did the work. Victoria leaned forward. That's the kind of person I want leading my technical teams. I have a daughter. I know. I can't work 80-hour weeks. I'm not asking you to. Build your team. Delegate. Go home at 5. I don't care how you do the job as long as it gets done. Ethan looked down the table at Lily. She'd drawn something with lots of purple and was holding it up to examine critically. What about Marcus? He asked. What happened with him? He's gone. Fired with cause. No severance. No references. No second chances. Victoria's voice went flat. I also contacted every company he listed as a reference. Made sure they knew exactly why he was terminated. He won't work in this industry again. That seems harsh. He stole years of your life. He deserves harsh. Ethan didn't argue. Victoria continued. The board meeting is Tuesday. I'm presenting the full investigation. Everything you gave me, everything we uncovered independently. Your name will be on every patent, every paper, every piece of documentation. The technical community will know who built this system. And if people don't believe it, then I'll spend the rest of my career making them believe it. Victoria met his eyes. I meant what I said, Ethan. I don't make promises I can't keep. Lily appeared at Ethan's elbow, holding up her drawing. Look, Daddy, I made us. The drawing showed 3 stick figures standing under a sun. One tall with messy hair, one small with a purple dress, one with long dark hair. They were holding hands. That's beautiful, Bug. The tall one is you, the small one is me, and that one, she pointed at the figure with long hair, is Victoria. Because she's nice and she gave you coffee, and now we're friends. Victoria looked at the drawing, then at Lily, then at Ethan. Something complicated crossed her face. We are friends, she said quietly. Aren't we? Lily nodded seriously. Yep, friends eat pancakes together. That's the rule. I didn't know there was a rule. There is. I just made it. Victoria smiled and Ethan saw something in it. Something genuine and unguarded that made her look entirely different from the composed CEO who'd fired Marcus without flinching. Well, Victoria said, if that's the rule, then I guess we're friends. Lily beamed and went back to her coloring. Ethan and Victoria sat in silence for a moment. You don't have to answer now, Victoria said. Take the weekend. Think about it, but I hope you'll say yes. Why does it matter to you? Because you deserve better than what happened, and because I think we could do something good together. Build something that actually matters. Ethan looked at his daughter drawing purple suns and imaginary friends, looked at Victoria watching Lily with a softness that seemed at odds with everything else about her, looked at the city stretching out beyond the window, vast and indifferent and full of second chances he'd stopped believing in. I'll think about it, he said. That's all I'm asking. They stayed another hour. Lily drew 17 more pictures, decided Victoria needed to see all of them, and extracted a promise that they'd have pancakes again next week. Victoria agreed without hesitation. On the bus ride home, Lily fell asleep against Ethan's shoulder, the bear clutched in one hand. Ethan held her carefully and thought about the job offer, the money, the risk of letting himself believe things could actually be different. His phone buzzed, text from Victoria. Thanks for coming in. Lily's wonderful. You're lucky. Ethan typed back, I know. Another buzz. Think about the offer. I meant every word. He stared at the message for a long moment, then typed, I will. Outside, Chicago rolled past in shades of spring green and gray stone. Lily shifted in her sleep, mumbling something about magical pigeons. Ethan kissed the top of her head and tried to imagine a future where pancakes with the CEO was normal, where his daughter drew pictures of them as friends, where he didn't have to choose between being a good father and having a career. It felt impossible. But then again, so had fixing Titan Core's infrastructure in 5 days. Maybe impossible was just another word for things he hadn't tried yet. Ethan accepted the job on Monday morning. Not because the money made sense, though it did. Not because Victoria had promised him everything he'd lost, though she had. He accepted because Lily had taped her drawing of the 3 stick figures to the refrigerator and kept asking when they'd see Victoria again. She's my friend now, Lily had announced over breakfast. Friends see each other. She's busy, Bug. She runs a whole company. So, you're busy too. You still see me. The logic was 5-year-old simple and completely unarguable. Ethan had stared at his daughter, then at the drawing, then called Victoria. I'm in, he said. Yeah? Yeah. When do I start? How about now? So now it was Tuesday afternoon and Ethan sat in a boardroom on the 40th floor, surrounded by people who'd never noticed him when he worked there before. The board of directors looked exactly like he'd expected. 12 executives in expensive suits, half of them visibly skeptical, the other half trying to hide it. Victoria stood at the head of the table, a presentation remote in her hand. Gentlemen, Ms. Okafor, thank you for coming. I know this meeting was called on short notice. She clicked the remote. The screen behind her lit up with Titan Core's logo. We're here to discuss a critical issue that's been compromising this company's integrity for the past 5 years. One of the board members, gray hair, navy suit, permanent scowl, leaned forward. This is about Marcus Vane? It is. We've already received his lawyer's letter. He's threatening to sue for wrongful termination. Let him sue, Victoria said. He'll lose. She clicked again, the screen filled with code, dense, technical, incomprehensible to anyone who wasn't a software engineer. But at the top, in small gray text, was a name and timestamp. E. Brooks. Authentication Framework version 1.0, October 2019. This is the original architecture for Titan Core's security infrastructure, Victoria said. Written by Ethan Brooks, who's sitting to my left. 3 months later, Marcus Vane presented this exact system to this board, claiming he'd designed it himself. Ethan felt 12 pairs of eyes turned toward him. He kept his face blank. Another board member spoke. That's a serious accusation. It's not an accusation, it's a fact. Victoria clicked through a series of slides, commit histories, email chains, contracts with dates and signatures. Mr. Brooks built this system while his wife was undergoing cancer treatment. Marcus exploited that situation to purchase the technology under fraudulent terms, then systematically erased Mr. Brooks's name from every piece of documentation. The room went quiet. Victoria let the silence sit for a moment before continuing. 2 weeks ago, when our authentication system failed, none of our engineers could fix it. They didn't understand the architecture because they hadn't built it. Marcus hadn't built it. The only person who understood what was happening was the man we'd fired a month earlier. If that's true, the scowling board member said, why didn't Brooks come forward sooner? All eyes turned to Ethan again. He looked at Victoria, who nodded slightly. Because I had a 2-year-old daughter and no time to fight a battle I'd already lost, Ethan said. His voice came out steady, which surprised him. Marcus offered me $50,000 when my wife needed $40,000 in treatment within 48 hours. I signed his contract without reading it. That's on me. But what happened after? The erasure, the lies, the theft? That's on him. You have proof of this theft? Ethan pulled the flash drive from his pocket and slid it across the table. Everything's on there. Original designs, patent applications with my signature, email correspondence showing Marcus knew exactly what he was buying and from whom. You can verify it independently. The gray-haired board member picked up the flash drive, the gray-haired board, turning it over in his fingers like it might explode. And you're just bringing this forward now? He brought it forward when I asked him to, Victoria cut in, after I discovered the discrepancies myself. Mr. Brooks didn't come to me looking for revenge or money. I went to him looking for the truth. Another board member, woman in her 50s, sharp eyes, spoke up. What exactly are you proposing we do? 3 things. Victoria counted on her fingers. First, we reassign all patents and authorship credit to Mr. Brooks. Second, we issue a public statement acknowledging his contributions and clarifying the record. Third, we ensure Marcus Vane never works in this industry again. That last part could be construed as blackballing, only if it's unjustified. Marcus committed fraud. We have documentation. We're simply making sure other companies know what they're getting if they hire him. The room erupted in overlapping conversations. Ethan sat quietly, watching Victoria hold her ground against 12 people who'd been making boardroom decisions since before she was born. She didn't raise her voice, didn't show frustration, just methodically dismantled every objection until the room fell silent again. Finally, the woman with sharp eyes spoke. I want to hear from Mr. Brooks directly. Why should we believe you? Why should we trust that you're telling the truth and Marcus isn't? Ethan met her gaze. Because I don't need you to believe me. The code speaks for itself. Run the analysis. Check the timestamps. Compare Marcus's technical papers to my original documentation. You'll see the progression. My work, then his repackaging of it. He paused. But more than that, ask yourself why I'd come back here at all if I was lying. Why would I walk back into the place that fired me, fix the system nobody else could fix, and expose myself to this kind of scrutiny? What would I have to gain? Money, someone muttered. I already turned down a settlement, Ethan said. Victoria offered to pay me to keep quiet. I said no, because I don't want money for silence. I want my name back. But that shut them up. Victoria looked at him with something like respect, then turned back to the board. I need a vote. All in favor of the proposed actions? 7 hands went up immediately. After a moment, 3 more joined them. The remaining 2 board members sat with arms crossed, but they didn't vote against. Motion carries, Victoria said. We'll draft the public statement this week. Mr. Brooks, you'll have your patents reassigned within 30 days. Ethan nodded, not trusting himself to speak. The meeting broke up. Board members filed out, some stopping to shake Ethan's hand, others avoiding eye contact entirely. When the room finally emptied, only Victoria remained. She sat down in the chair next to him. "You okay?" "I don't know." Ethan rubbed his face. "That was surreal." "You did well." "I felt like I was on trial." "You were. And you won." Victoria stood, gathering her materials. "Come on, I want to show you something." She led him down the hall to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view that made his borrowed workspace look like a closet. A nameplate on the door read Chief Security Architect. "This is yours," Victoria said. Ethan stared. The office was twice the size of the apartment he shared with Lily. Mahogany desk, leather chair, built-in bookshelves, a small conference table by the window. "I can't." "You can. You're C-suite now. This comes with the position." "C-suite," Ethan repeated. The words felt foreign. "I took the bus here this morning." "So?" "I took the L. Public transit doesn't disqualify you from having an office." Bon Victoria walked to the window. "Look, I know this is a lot. New job, new title, new everything. But you earned this. Stop acting like you didn't." Ethan joined her at the window. 40 floors below, Chicago spread out in its vast, messy glory. Somewhere down there, his daughter was in kindergarten, probably telling her classmates about the nice lady who gave her pancakes. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now you build your team. Hire people who actually understand security architecture. Fix the problems Marcus left behind. Make Titan Core into something we can be proud of. And you? I run interference with the board, handle the PR nightmare when we go public with this, and try to convince our clients we're not completely incompetent." Victoria smiled. "Should be fun." "Your definition of fun is broken." "Probably." She turned to face him. "There's one more thing. The public statement goes out Friday. That gives you 3 days to prepare for what comes after." "Which is?" "Attention. The tech press will want interviews. Competitors will try to poach you. People you haven't talked to in years will suddenly want to reconnect." Victoria's expression turned serious. "It's going to be uncomfortable, but it's also going to be proof that the truth matters, that people can't just steal your work and get away with it." Ethan thought about that. 5 years of invisibility, followed by sudden exposure. The idea made his skin crawl. What if I don't want the attention? Then don't give interviews. Release one statement, let the facts speak for themselves, and get back to work. Nobody says you have to perform for an audience. You make it sound simple. It's not simple, but it's necessary. Victoria headed for the door, then stopped. "Oh, and Ethan? Take tomorrow off. Spend it with Lily. The work will still be here Thursday." "I just started." "And you'll still be here for years. One day won't matter." She left before he could argue. Ethan stood alone in his new office, looking at the city and trying to process everything that had happened in the past 2 weeks. Fired to rehired, invisible to vindicated, broke to comfortable. None of it felt real. His phone buzzed. Text from his mother. Lily's teacher called. "Wants to meet with you about Lily's behavior." Ethan's stomach dropped. He called immediately. "What happened? Is she okay?" "She's fine, honey. Calm down." His mother sounded more amused than worried. "Apparently, she's been telling everyone her daddy is a superhero who saved a big company. Her teacher thinks she's having trouble distinguishing fantasy from reality." Ethan closed his eyes. "She's not." "I know that. You know that. But the teacher's concerned. I'll talk to her. Can you pick Lily up today? I need to finish some things here." "Of course." "But Ethan?" "Yeah? Maybe tell your daughter the whole story. She's smart enough to understand." After they hung up, Ethan sat at his new desk and tried to figure out how to explain corporate fraud and intellectual property theft to a 5-year-old. The answer, he suspected, was that he couldn't, so he'd have to find a different truth to tell her. Something about standing up for yourself, about fighting even when it felt impossible, something she'd understand. Wednesday morning, Ethan kept his promise and took the day off. He picked Lily up from his mother's house early, before school, and took her to the diner 3 blocks from their apartment. The place had cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like it had been brewing since 1987, but the pancakes were good, and Lily loved it. They sat in their usual booth by the window. Lily ordered chocolate chip pancakes. Ethan got coffee and eggs he probably wouldn't finish. "Daddy, are you really a superhero?" Ethan looked up from his menu. "What?" "Mrs. Patterson said I shouldn't tell stories, but I said it's not a story. You saved the company. That's what superheroes do." "Bug, I'm not a superhero. You fixed something nobody else could fix. That's a superpower. That's just being good at my job." Lily frowned, thinking hard. "But you made the bad man go away, and now you have a big office. Mrs. Patterson said that only happens in movies." "Mrs. Patterson doesn't know everything." "She knows a lot, though. She's a teacher." Their food arrived. Lily attacked her pancakes while Ethan tried to figure out how to explain the situation in terms that wouldn't require a law degree. "You remember when you lost your favorite purple crayon?" he asked. Lily nodded, mouth full. "And then we found it under Emma's desk at school?" Another nod. "And Emma said she didn't take it, but we both knew she did because it had your name on it." "She said she found it." "Right, but it was still your crayon. The name proved it was yours." Ethan pushed his eggs around. "That's kind of what happened with my work. I built something, but someone else said they built it, and for a long time everyone believed him because he was louder and more important. But you had your name on it." "In a way, yeah." "So what happened?" "Someone new looked at the work and saw my name, and she asked questions, and eventually everyone figured out the truth." Lily considered this while chewing. "Is that why you're happy now?" "Yes." "I'm not." Ethan stopped. Was he happy? The question caught him off guard. "Why do you think I'm happy?" "You smile more, and you don't look sad when you think I'm not watching." Ethan's throat tightened. He hadn't realized she'd noticed, hadn't realized he'd been that transparent. "Yeah, Bug. I guess I am happier." "Because of Victoria?" "Because of a lot of things. Victoria's part of it. I like her. She's nice." "She is. Can we see her again?" "Probably. She works with me now." Lily's eyes lit up. "Really? Really? I'm her boss's boss's boss or something. I'm still figuring out the structure. Does that mean more pancakes?" Ethan laughed despite himself. "Maybe. We'll see." Some arts. They finished breakfast and walked to the park, the same one where Lily had been pushed off the swings. But today the playground was mostly empty, just a couple of kids climbing on the jungle gym. Lily ran straight for the swings. "Push me, Daddy!" Ethan pushed. Lily laughed, the sound bright and uncomplicated. After a while, she started talking about school, about her friends, about the drawing she was making for Victoria, because friends give each other presents. "What are you drawing her?" "A surprise. You can't see until it's done." "Fair enough." They stayed at the park until lunch, then went home. Ethan made grilled cheese while Lily colored at the kitchen table. The apartment felt smaller than usual, cramped after 2 weeks of working in Titan Core's glass tower. But it also felt like theirs. Mismatched furniture, drawings taped to every wall, the leak in the corner that the landlord kept promising to fix. His phone buzzed. "Victoria. How's the day off?" Ethan typed back, "Good. Lily says hi. Tell her I say hi back. Also, the legal team wants to meet with you Friday before the statement goes public. Just a formality." "What kind of formality?" "Making sure you're comfortable with the language, that we're not putting words in your mouth." "Okay. What time?" 9 a.m. "I'll be there too." Ethan sent a thumbs up and put his phone away. Lily held up her drawing, another stick figure family, this one at a park with a purple sun. "For Victoria," she announced. "She'll love it." "I know, because we're friends. And friends love each other's drawings even if they're bad. Your drawings aren't bad. Some of them are. That's okay, though. You don't have to be perfect." Ethan looked at his daughter, wondering when she'd gotten so wise. "No, you don't." Friday morning came faster than Ethan expected. He dropped Lily at school, took the bus downtown, and arrived at Titan Core with 10 minutes to spare. The legal team met in a conference room on 38. 3 lawyers in matching suits who spent an hour walking Ethan through every line of the public statement. The language was careful, precise, scrubbed of anything that might invite lawsuits. It acknowledged Ethan's contributions, corrected the record on authorship, and avoided directly accusing Marcus of anything that couldn't be proven in court. "It's boring," Ethan said when they finished. The lead lawyer, woman named Patricia, gray streak through black hair, smiled. "Boring is good. Boring doesn't get us sued." "Will Marcus sue anyway?" "Probably, but he'll lose. We have documentation, witnesses, and a technical analysis that's ironclad." Patricia closed her folder. "The statement goes live at noon. Are you comfortable with that?" "Do I have a choice?" "You always have a choice. We can delay, revise, pull it entirely if you want. But Victoria thinks this is the right move." Ethan looked at Victoria, who'd been sitting quietly through the whole meeting. She met his eyes. "It's your call," she said. "But I think people deserve to know the truth. Even if it makes the company look bad? We already looked bad. This makes us look honest." Ethan thought about it. Thought about Lily asking if he was a superhero, about his mother saying the truth mattered, about 5 years of silence. "Okay," he said. "Send it." The statement went live at noon. Ethan was in his office when it happened, trying to set up his computer and failing to concentrate. His phone started buzzing immediately. Texts from people he hadn't talked to in years, LinkedIn notifications, emails from journalists asking for interviews. He ignored all of it and called his mother. "Did you see it?" "I saw it, honey. I'm proud of you." "It's just a statement. It's vindication. There's a difference." Ethan didn't know what to say to that. His mother filled the silence. "Your father would have been proud too. Dad died when I was 12. He barely knew what I did for a living. He knew you were smart. He knew you'd do something important." His mother's voice softened. "And he knew you'd stand up for yourself when it mattered. You just took a while to get there." After they hung up, Ethan sat staring at his computer screen. The Titan Core website had the statement on the front page right under the company logo. He read it through 3 times, looking for something that felt wrong. But it was just facts. Simple, boring, true. Someone knocked on his door. Angela stuck her head in. "You okay?" "Everyone keeps asking me that." Because you look like you're about to throw up." "I might be." Angela stepped inside, closing the door behind her. "For what it's worth, people are talking. In a good way. The engineering team is thrilled someone finally called out Marcus. Half of them have stories about him stealing their ideas." "Great. So I'm a hero for doing what everyone else was too scared to do." "You say that like it's a bad thing." Ethan rubbed his face. "I don't want to be a hero. I just wanted my name back." "Well, you've got it, and now you get to figure out what to do with it." Angela smiled. "Welcome to the C-suite, Brooks. It's weird up here." She left. Ethan went back to staring at his computer, trying to process the fact that his life had changed irrevocably and he couldn't take it back even if he wanted to. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Is this Ethan Brooks?" Male voice, unfamiliar. Ethan's guard went up. "Who's asking?" "My name is David Chen. I'm a reporter with TechCrunch. I'd love to talk to you about the Titan Core situation." No comment. "I understand you're probably getting a lot of calls, but I think your story matters. What Marcus Vane did, stealing credit, exploiting your situation, it happens all the time in tech. People need to know they can fight back. They can read the statement. A statement isn't the same as hearing it from you. The human element matters." Ethan closed his eyes. "I have a 5-year-old daughter who thinks I'm a superhero. I'm not interested in being anyone else's inspiration. What if telling your story helps someone else in your situation? Someone who thinks they have to stay silent. Then they can read the statement and draw their own conclusions." "Mr. Brooks?" Ethan hung up. His hands were shaking. The phone rang again immediately. Different number. He declined it. Another call. Another decline. After the 7th call, he turned his phone off entirely and sat in the silence of his office, looking out at the city and wondering what the hell he'd gotten himself into. Mom. Victoria found him 20 minutes later. She knocked once, then entered without waiting for permission. "You turned your phone off. How'd you know?" "Because mine's been ringing nonstop with reporters asking how to reach you. They're persistent." "I'm not interested." "I know. I told them that." Victoria sat in the chair across from his desk. "But you should know. The statement's getting traction. It's trending on Twitter. LinkedIn's blowing up. People care about this. I don't want them to care. I want them to leave me alone. That's not how this works. Then maybe I made a mistake. Victoria leaned forward. You didn't, but I understand why it feels that way. She paused. Can I tell you something? Do I have a choice? Not really. She smiled slightly. When I took over as CEO, I got death threats. Actual threats from people who thought a 30-year-old woman had no business running a company. My first week, someone mailed a package to my office with a dead rat inside and a note saying I should quit before I embarrassed myself. Ethan stared at her. What did you do? I called the police, increased security, and kept working, because the alternative was letting them win, letting fear make my decisions. Victoria met his eyes. I'm not saying what you're dealing with is the same, but I am saying that attention fades. Right now you're interesting because the story's new. In 2 weeks, something else will be trending and people will forget. But the truth stays. Your name on those patents stays. That doesn't go away. And until then, you let me handle the press. You focus on your team and your daughter. And you remember that you didn't do anything wrong. Marcus did. The people harassing you now, they're the same people who would have ignored you forever if we hadn't forced them to pay attention. Ethan thought about that. Ethan, about 5 years of invisibility versus 2 weeks of chaos. I liked being invisible, he said quietly. I know, but you deserved better than that. She stood to leave. Ethan stopped her. Victoria, yeah? Thank you for all of this. I know I keep saying it, but I mean it. You're welcome. Now go home. Spend the weekend with Lily. Monday we start building your team. What if I don't know how? Then we'll figure it out together. After she left, Ethan sat alone for a long time. Eventually he packed up his things, turned his phone back on long enough to text his mother that he was leaving early, and took the elevator down. The lobby was busier than usual. Ethan kept his head down, not making eye contact, just trying to get to the doors. He almost made it. Mr. Brooks? He turned. A young woman in a business suit, mid-20s, nervous smile. I'm sorry to bother you. I read the statement and I wanted to say thank you. For what? For speaking up. I had something similar happen at my last job. Boss took credit for my analysis, presented it to a client, got promoted. I didn't say anything because I thought nobody would believe me. She paused. Reading your story made me realize I should have tried. Ethan didn't know what to say. The woman seemed to understand. Anyway, I just wanted you to know it mattered. That's all. She walked away before he could respond. Ethan stood in the lobby feeling like the ground had shifted under his feet. Maybe Victoria was right. Maybe the attention would fade, but the truth would stay. Maybe speaking up mattered even when it was uncomfortable. Maybe. He pushed through the stores into the spring afternoon and headed for the bus stop, thinking about heroes and truth and the daughter waiting for him at home with another purple drawing and a million questions he wasn't sure how to answer. But he'd try, because that's what parents did. They tried. The weekend passed in a blur of normalcy that felt almost defiant. Ethan took Lily to the zoo, where they spent 3 hours watching penguins and eating overpriced ice cream. She didn't ask about work, didn't mention superheroes or Victoria or any of the chaos swirling around his name in the tech world. She just held his hand and pointed at animals and laughed when the sea lions barked. Sunday evening, after Lily had gone to bed, Ethan finally turned on his laptop. His inbox had exploded. 247 unread messages. Job offers from competitors, interview requests from journalists, LinkedIn messages from people he'd gone to college with who suddenly remembered they'd been friends. He deleted most of them without reading, kept a few that seemed genuine, and closed the laptop feeling exhausted. His phone buzzed. Victoria, ready for tomorrow? Ethan typed back. No. Good. Means you're taking it seriously. See you at 8. He stared at the message, then wrote, Thank you for the weekend. You don't have to thank me for basic human decency. Most bosses don't have it. Most bosses are idiots. Get some sleep. Ethan smiled despite himself and put the phone down. Through the thin wall separating his bedroom from Lily's, he could hear her talking in her sleep, something about purple elephants and magic cookies. The sound grounded him in a way nothing else could. Whatever happened tomorrow, this was still his life. This cramped apartment, this sleeping daughter, This quiet, ordinary existence he'd built from the wreckage of everything he'd lost. The rest was just noise. Monday morning arrived with rain hammering against the windows. Ethan got Lily ready for school, made her breakfast, and listened to her chatter about a field trip to the aquarium next week. Mrs. Patterson says we're going to see sharks. Real ones. That sounds cool, Bug. Are sharks mean or just hungry? Probably just hungry. That's what I said. But Tommy said they're mean because they eat people. I said people aren't even their favorite food. Indeed, you're right. People taste terrible to sharks. Lily giggled. How do you know? I read it somewhere. You read everything. Not everything, just a lot. He dropped her at school, watched her run inside with her purple backpack bouncing, and felt the familiar ache of separation. Every morning, the same. Every morning, it hurt just a little. The bus ride downtown gave him time to prepare. Today, he'd start building his team, interviewing candidates, defining roles, trying to figure out how to lead people when he'd spent 5 years being invisible. The prospect terrified him more than he wanted to admit. Titan Core's lobby was crowded with the Monday morning rush. Ethan rode the elevator to 40, stepped out into the executive floor, and immediately felt like an imposter. Everyone here moved with purpose, confidence, the kind of easy authority that came from never doubting you belonged. He found Victoria in her office, on the phone, gesturing emphatically at something on her computer screen. I understand the concerns, but we're not delaying the security audit. Yes, I'm aware of the cost. No, I don't care if it impacts Q2 projections. She saw Ethan and waved him in. We'll discuss this at the executive meeting. Thank you. She hung up and rubbed her eyes. Morning. Bad call? CFO wants to push the security audit to next quarter, save money. That's stupid. I know, he knows I know. We'll fight about it Wednesday and I'll win. Victoria stood, grabbing a folder from her desk. Ready to meet your team? I don't have a team yet. You do. I pulled 3 people from engineering who actually know what they're doing. They're waiting in the conference room. Ethan followed her down the hall, his stomach twisting. Ethan followed her down. You could have warned me. If I'd warned you, you would have worried all weekend. This way you only get to worry for 30 seconds. That's not better. Sure it is. 30 seconds of anxiety versus 48 hours. Basic math. They reached the conference room. Through the glass walls, Ethan could see 3 people sitting around the table, 2 men and a woman, all younger than him, all looking varying degrees of nervous. Victoria stopped before opening the door. These are good people. Smart, competent, underutilized because Marcus didn't know how to manage talent. They're excited to work with you. How do you know? Because I asked them, and because your reputation precedes you now. She smiled. Try not to overthink it. She pushed the door open. 3 heads turned. Morning, everyone. This is Ethan Brooks, your new boss. Ethan, this is your team. The woman stood first, late 20s, dark skin, natural hair pulled back in a puff, wearing jeans and a Titan Core hoodie. She stuck out her hand. Rachel Okonkwo. I worked on authentication protocols under Marcus. Well, I say worked on. Mostly I fixed his mistakes and he took credit. Ethan shook her hand. Sounds familiar. Yeah, we all read the statement. About damn time someone called him out. She gestured to the 2 men. This is James and Kevin. James was early 30s, Asian, thick glasses, the kind of nervous energy that suggested too much coffee. Kevin was younger, maybe 25, white, wearing a t-shirt with code printed on it. James Park, the first one said. Infrastructure security. Been here 3 years. Kevin Morrison. Penetration testing and vulnerability assessment. 2 years. Kevin grinned. I tried to hack our own system once and Marcus almost fired me. Did you get in? Obviously. That's why he was pissed. Ethan found himself smiling. Okay, sit down. Let's talk about what we're actually doing here. They spent the next 2 hours going through Titan Core's security architecture piece by piece. Rachel had thoughts on authentication flows. James had concerns about the infrastructure scalability. Kevin kept finding vulnerabilities nobody had bothered to fix. This is a mess, Kevin said, pulling up code on his laptop. Look at this function. It's been deprecated for 2 years, but it's still running in production. Why hasn't anyone removed it? Because Marcus said if it's not broken, don't touch it. It is broken, Rachel said. It's just broken slowly. They went back and forth, arguing about priorities, debating solutions, occasionally talking over each other. Ethan listened, taking notes, trying to absorb everything at once. These weren't people who needed hand-holding. They needed someone to get out of their way and let them work. Finally, Victoria stuck her head in. How's it going? Good, Ethan said. We're identifying critical fixes. How many? 47 so far, James said. Victoria's eyebrows climbed. 47 critical security issues? That we've found in 2 hours. There are probably more. Jesus. She looked at Ethan. You're going to need a bigger team. I know. I'll talk to HR. Get you authorization to hire 5 more engineers. She started to leave, then stopped. Also, there's something you should see. It's about Marcus. She pulled out her phone and showed Ethan an article from a tech news site. The headline read, Former Titan Core CTO Marcus Vane responds to fraud allegations. Ethan's stomach dropped. What does it say? Read it later. Right now you have work to do. Victoria put the phone away. Don't let him get in your head. He's trying to control the narrative, but he doesn't have facts on his side. After she left, Ethan tried to focus on the work, but the article gnawed at him. What had Marcus said? How was he spinning this? During lunch, sandwiches brought up by Angela because nobody wanted to stop working, Ethan finally pulled out his phone and read. Marcus's statement was exactly what Ethan expected. Denials wrapped in legal language. Claims that he'd worked closely with Ethan, but the core innovations were his own. Implications that Ethan was bitter about being fired and had fabricated evidence. This is a personal vendetta by a disgruntled former employee, Marcus was quoted as saying. I have nothing but respect for Mr. Brooks' contributions, but the suggestion that I stole his work is categorically false. Rachel read over Ethan's shoulder. That's bullshit. I know. So what are you going to do? Nothing. Nothing. We have documentation. The truth speaks for itself. Responding just gives him more attention. Ethan put his phone away. Let's get back to work. But the article stayed with him through the afternoon, a splinter under his skin. By 5 o'clock, when most of the team headed home, Ethan was still at his desk, staring at code without really seeing it. Another knock. Victoria again. You're still here. So are you. I'm always here. It's pathological. She came in and sat down. You read the article. How'd you know? Because you've been distracted for the past 3 hours, and Rachel told me you said you weren't going to respond. I'm not. Good, but I am. Ethan looked up. What? Titan Core's communications team is drafting a response, laying out the facts, pointing to the documentation, making it clear Marcus is lying. Victoria crossed her arms. I'm not letting him rewrite history. That's just going to escalate things. Maybe. But silence looks like weakness. And we're not weak. Victoria, this isn't negotiable, Ethan. You can stay quiet if you want, but the company is going on record. They stared at each other. Finally, Ethan nodded. Okay. Okay. But I want to see the statement before it goes out. Deal. Victoria stood to leave, then hesitated. You want to get dinner? Ethan blinked. What? Dinner. Food. The thing people eat when they've worked through lunch and it's almost 6. She looked almost embarrassed. There's a good Thai place 2 blocks away. We could talk about something other than work for 30 minutes. I need to pick up Lily. What time? 7. We'll be done by 6:30. I'll make sure of it. Ethan didn't know what to say. This felt like crossing a line he hadn't known existed. But Victoria was already grabbing her coat, clearly not taking no for an answer. Come on. I'm starving and I refuse to eat alone while you sit here brooding about Marcus. The Thai place was small, crowded, smelling like lemongrass and chili. They sat at a corner table and ordered quickly. Pad Thai for Victoria, green curry for Ethan. While they waited, an awkward silence settled between them. This is weird, Ethan said finally. What is? This. Having dinner with my boss. I'm not your boss, we're both executives. Technically, we report to the board. You're the CEO. Bu? And you're the chief security architect. We're colleagues. Victoria poured water from the pitcher on the table. Besides, I don't have many friends in Chicago. Everyone I know is either on the board or wants something from me. It gets exhausting. So I'm what, a pity dinner? You're someone who doesn't bullshit me. That's rare. Their food arrived. They ate in silence for a moment before Victoria spoke again. Can I ask you something personal? Depends on the question. What was she like? Your wife. Ethan set down his fork. Most people didn't ask about Sarah. They offered condolences, changed the subject, pretended the grief didn't exist. Smart, he said finally. Funny, terrible at cooking but refused to admit it. She'd burn toast and claim it was supposed to be crispy. He smiled slightly. She wanted to be a teacher, elementary school. Said kids that age still believed the world was good, and she wanted to be part of that. Did she get to teach? For 2 years, before the diagnosis. Ethan picked up his fork again, moving curry around without eating. She died thinking she'd failed Lily. That's the part that destroys me. Not the cancer, not the pain, the fact that she thought she was abandoning our daughter. You told her she wasn't? Every day. I don't think she believed me. Victoria was quiet for a moment. My mom died when I was 16. Car accident. I spent years angry at her for driving in the rain, for not being more careful, for leaving me. She looked at Ethan. It took a long time to realize I was just angry she was gone. The details didn't matter. I'm sorry. Me too. About Sarah, about all of it. They finished eating. Victoria was right. They were done by 6:20. On the sidewalk outside, rain had started again, light mist that caught the streetlights. Thank you, Ethan said. For dinner, for listening. Thank you for not treating me like just a CEO. Gets lonely up there. Yeah, I'm starting to see that. Victoria pulled out her phone. I'll send you the response to Marcus tonight. Let me know if you have changes. I will. She hesitated, then said, We're doing good work, Ethan. You and me, the team, all of it. Don't let Marcus make you forget that. I won't. He watched her walk away toward the L station, then headed for the bus stop. His phone buzzed on the way. Text from his mother. Lily's asking when you're getting here. She has news. Ethan smiled and typed 15 minutes. What kind of news? The good kind. She's very excited. When he arrived at his mother's house, Lily launched herself at him from the couch. Daddy, guess what? What, Bug? Mrs. Patterson says I can bring someone to show and tell on Friday. Anyone I want. That's great. Who are you bringing? You. Ethan's heart sank. Friday was the executive meeting. The one where the CFO would argue against the security audit and Victoria would fight him, and Ethan was supposed to present the team's initial findings. Bug, I don't know if I can... Please? I already told everyone you're coming. I said my daddy's a superhero who fixes computers. His mother appeared from the kitchen, giving him a look that clearly said, Don't you dare disappoint her. What time? Ethan asked. 10 o'clock, Mrs. Patterson said you can stay for 30 minutes and talk about your job and answer questions. Ethan did the math. The executive meeting started at 9, and if he presented first, got out by 9:45, he could make it to Lily's school by 10. Okay, he said. I'll be there. Lily squealed and hugged him so hard he stumbled. His mother smiled from the doorway. You're a good father, Ethan. I try. You succeed. Don't forget that. The week accelerated. Ethan hired 3 more engineers by Wednesday, bringing his team to 6. They worked 12-hour days mapping vulnerabilities, prioritizing fixes, building a roadmap that would take 6 months to fully implement. Every meeting revealed new problems Marcus had ignored or created. How did this place not get hacked? Kevin asked on Thursday afternoon. Luck, Rachel said. And Ethan's original architecture, it's robust enough to survive neglect. Barely. They were right. The system was hanging together through a combination of solid foundation and miraculous timing. Without intervention, it would have collapsed within months. Thursday evening, Victoria sent the response to Marcus's article. Ethan read it twice, made minor edits, and sent it back. The company posted it Friday morning, an hour before the executive meeting. The statement was brief, factual, devastating. It laid out the timeline of events, cited specific documentation, and included screenshots of code with timestamps that proved Ethan's authorship. It ended with a single line that made Ethan's chest tight. Titan Core Solutions stands behind the integrity of our employees and the truth of our technical record. We will not allow fraud to go unchallenged. Cons. By the time Ethan arrived at the office, the statement was trending. His phone was buzzing nonstop. He turned it off and headed to the 40th floor. The executive meeting was exactly as unpleasant as expected. The CFO argued that security audits were expensive and unnecessary. Victoria countered that breaches were more expensive and inevitable without proper oversight. They went back and forth for 30 minutes while Ethan waited for his turn to present. Finally, Victoria gestured to him. "Ethan, show them what your team found." Ethan pulled up the presentation. 47 critical vulnerabilities, 63 high-priority issues, over 200 medium-priority items that needed attention. The room went dead silent. "How long has this been going on?" someone asked. "Years, since Marcus stopped maintaining the architecture properly." "Why didn't anyone notice?" "Because the people who would have noticed," Ethan gestured to himself, "were either fired or ignored." The CFO looked pale. "What's the timeline for fixes?" 6 months for critical items. Another year for everything else. And that's if we don't find more problems. "How much will it cost?" Ethan looked at Victoria. She smiled. "Less than a single data breach," she said, "which is what we'll have if we don't do this." The vote was unanimous. Ethan's team got full authorization and budget to fix the infrastructure. He should have felt victorious. Instead, he just felt tired. He left the meeting at 9:43, took the elevator down and caught a cab to Lily's school. Arrived at 9:58, slightly sweaty, definitely stressed. Lily's classroom was bright and chaotic, 25 kindergartners sitting in a circle on the floor. Mrs. Patterson stood near the door. "Mr. Brooks, Lily's been watching the door for 10 minutes. Sorry, work ran late." "You made it. That's what matters." She led him to the front of the circle. Lily's face lit up when she saw him. "Daddy!" "Hey, Bug." Mrs. Patterson clapped her hands for attention. "Everyone, this is Lily's dad. He's going to tell us about his job." 25 pairs of eyes fixed on Ethan. He had presented to boards of directors, defended his work to skeptical executives, stared down Marcus Vane in a conference room. None of it was as intimidating as a room full of 5-year-olds. "Hi, I'm Ethan. I work with computers." "What kind of computers?" a boy in the front asked. "Big ones." A boy in the kind that help banks and hospitals and other important places stay safe. "From bad guys?" "Sort of. From people who try to break in and steal information." "Like hackers?" Exactly like hackers." A girl raised her hand. "Lily says you're a superhero." Ethan glanced at his daughter, who smiled innocently. "I'm not a superhero. I just fix things when they break." "That's what superheroes do," the girl insisted. "Superheroes also fly and shoot lasers from their eyes." "I can't do that." "But you saved the company," Lily said. "That's what you told me." "I helped. A lot of people helped. But you did it first." Ethan looked at his daughter, 5 years old, purple dress, complete confidence that her father could do anything. The weight of that belief was crushing and beautiful at the same time. "Yeah," he said quietly, "I did it first." They asked more questions, about computers, about bad guys, about whether he'd ever met a real hacker. Ethan answered patiently, simplifying concepts, making them laugh with stories about bugs that turned out to be unplugged cables. By the time Mrs. Patterson called time, Ethan had relaxed. Being here, talking to kids who saw the world in simple terms, good guys and bad guys, problems and solutions, felt cleaner than everything waiting for him back at Titan Core. Lily walked him to the door when it was over. "You did good, Daddy." "Thanks, Bug. Everyone thinks you're cool now." "I'm not cool. I'm a nerd who stares at computers all day." "Nerds can be cool. Mrs. Patterson said so." Ethan kissed the top of her head. "I'll see you tonight. Pizza?" "Always pizza." He left feeling lighter than he had in days. The cab ride back to Titan Core gave him time to check his phone. 37 new messages. He ignored most of them, but one caught his attention. Victoria. How'd show and tell go? He typed back, apparently I'm cool now. Kindergarten standards are low. Or accurate. See you Monday. Enjoy your weekend. The weekend stretched ahead. 2 days with Lily, no work, no Marcus, no chaos. Just the two of them and whatever small adventures they could find in their small world. It felt like enough. Saturday morning, Lily wanted to make pancakes. Ethan supervised while she cracked eggs, spilling half of one on the counter, and dumped in flour without measuring. How much flour, Daddy? No, the recipe says 2 cups. What if I do 3? Then we'll have really thick pancakes. Let's try it. They did. The pancakes came out dense and slightly burnt, but Lily ate hers with syrup and declared them perfect. Ethan ate his and tried not to think about work, about Marcus's response to the company's statement, about the vulnerabilities his team was racing to fix. His phone buzzed. He almost ignored it, then saw it was Victoria. Turn on the news. Why? Just do it. Ethan found the remote and flipped to a local news channel. A reporter stood outside Titan Core's building, talking into a camera. Allegations of fraud and intellectual property theft have rocked the Chicago tech community. Marcus Vane, former CTO of Titan Core Solutions, announced this morning that he's filing a defamation lawsuit against both the company and Ethan Brooks, the engineer who claims Vane stole his work. Ethan's stomach dropped. On screen, the reporter continued, Vane's lawyer released a statement saying the accusations are baseless and motivated by personal animosity. Titan Core has not yet responded to the lawsuit announcement. Lily looked up from her pancakes. Daddy, why do you look scared? I'm not scared, Bug, just surprised. About what? How did you explain lawsuits and defamation to a 5-year-old? You didn't. Work stuff, nothing important. His phone rang. Victoria. You saw? Yeah. Don't panic. I already talked to legal. Marcus doesn't have a case. This is a publicity stunt. A publicity stunt that could drag on for months and cost us a fortune. Or we crush it in summary judgment and make him look even worse. Either way, we're not backing down. Victoria paused. Are you okay? Define okay. Fair point. Look, take the weekend. Don't think about this. Monday we'll meet with legal and figure out next steps. But Ethan, we have the truth on our side. That matters. Does it? It has to. After they hung up, Ethan sat staring at the TV. The news had moved on to sports. Lily had finished her pancakes and was drawing, purple crayon moving across paper in loops and swirls. Daddy, can we go to the park? Ethan looked at his daughter. The lawsuit didn't matter to her. Marcus didn't matter to her. All that mattered was the park and the swings and whether her father would push her. Yeah, Bug, let's go to the park. They spent the afternoon outside, Lily running between playground equipment while Ethan pushed her on the swings and tried not to check his phone every 5 minutes. The lawsuit was a problem, but it was Monday's problem. Today was Lily's. By the time they got home, evening had settled over the city. Ethan made dinner, spaghetti again, because Lily never got tired of it, and they ate together at their small table while Lily told him about the aquarium field trip next week. Mrs. Patterson says the sharks can smell fear. Is that true? I think that's a myth. What's a myth? A story people believe that isn't true. Like when Tommy said sharks eat people? Exactly. So you're saying Tommy's a liar? I'm saying Tommy's misinformed. Lily considered this while twirling spaghetti. I think that's a nice way of saying liar. Yeah, probably. After dinner, after bath time, after 3 stories and 2 glasses of water and one more trip to the bathroom, Lily finally settled into bed. Ethan kissed her forehead. Good night, Bug. Daddy? Yeah? Are you still sad about the bad man? Ethan went still. What bad man? The one who took your work. Victoria told me about him. When did Victoria tell you about him? Last week, when we had pancakes. She said sometimes people do mean things, but that doesn't make them win. Ethan sat on the edge of Lily's bed. What else did she say? That you're brave. And that being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you are scared. Lily looked up at him with serious eyes. Are you scared, Daddy? A little. That's okay. You're still brave. Ethan pulled her into a hug, holding on maybe a second too long. When did you get so smart? I was always smart. You just noticed now. He laughed despite himself. Fair enough. Go to sleep. Love you, Daddy. Love you too, Bug. He left her door cracked open and walked to the living room. Through the window, Chicago glittered in the distance. A vast sprawl of lights and lives and problems he couldn't control. But here, in this small apartment with his sleeping daughter and the drawings taped to every wall, he had something that felt like safety. Whatever Marcus threw at him, whatever the lawsuit brought, this was still his, and that would have to be enough. Monday morning brought clarity in the form of a 2-inch thick legal document delivered to Titan Core's offices at 7 a.m. Ethan arrived an hour later to find Victoria in the conference room with 3 lawyers. The lawsuit spread across the table like evidence at a crime scene. He's asking for $10 million, Victoria said without preamble. Ethan set down his coffee. For what? Defamation, emotional distress, damage to professional reputation, loss of future earnings. She flipped through pages. It's ambitious, also completely unhinged. Patricia, the lead lawyer, tapped the document. The good news is it's sloppy. Half these claims won't survive a motion to dismiss. The bad news is it'll still cost time and money to fight. How much time? 6 months if we're lucky. A year if we're not. Ethan sank into a chair. A year of depositions, discovery, legal bills. A year of Marcus's face in the news, his lies given equal weight to the truth. There's another option, Patricia said carefully. Settlement, Victoria said flatly. We offer him $1 million, sign an NDA, make this go away quietly. No, Victoria's voice was ice. Absolutely not. It would be faster, cheaper in the long run. Bars petit is. I don't care. Settling makes it look like we're wrong, like Ethan's lying. Victoria looked at Ethan. But it's your call. You're the one Marcus is targeting. Ethan thought about Lily's drawing on the refrigerator, about her telling him that brave meant doing the right thing even when you were scared, about 5 years of silence that had nearly destroyed him. We fight, he said. Patricia nodded. Then we fight. I'll file our response by end of week. End. The meeting broke up. Victoria caught Ethan in the hallway. You sure about this? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Good. She hesitated. There's something else. I got a call this morning from the Tribune. They want to do a profile on you, the engineer who stood up to corporate fraud. It could help public perception. I'm not interested in being a symbol. I know, but symbols matter. Right now, Marcus is controlling the narrative. We need to counter that. By turning me into a story? By telling your story. Your way. Victoria met his eyes. Think about it. That's all I'm asking. Ethan spent the rest of the day trying to focus on work, trying to ignore the lawsuit hanging over everything like storm clouds. His team had made progress on the critical vulnerabilities, 15 fixed, 32 in progress. Rachel had implemented new authentication protocols. Kevin had identified 3 more security holes that could have been catastrophic. We're basically playing whack-a-mole with Marcus's incompetence, Kevin said during their afternoon meeting. That's the job, Ethan replied. Does it ever end? Eventually, once we rebuild the foundation. And if Marcus's lawsuit tanks the company first? The room went quiet. Ethan looked at the faces around the table, young, talented, worried. The lawsuit's not going to tank anything, he said with more confidence than he felt. We have documentation, timestamps, evidence. Marcus has lies and expensive lawyers. We'll win. You sound sure, Rachel said. I am sure about the facts. The rest, he shrugged. We deal with it as it comes. After the meeting, Ethan stayed late finishing a security audit report. The office emptied around him. By 8 p.m., the only light on his floor came from his office and Victoria's corner suite down the hall. He found her at her desk, laptop open, Chinese takeout containers scattered around her. You need to go home, she said without looking up. So do you. I live 3 blocks away. You have a daughter waiting. Lily's at my mom's tonight. School project emergency. Ethan leaned against the doorframe. What are you working on? Damage control. The lawsuit's making clients nervous. I've spent the day on calls reassuring people we're stable. Are we? Victoria finally looked at him. Honestly, I don't know. If this drags out, if Marcus keeps making noise, we could lose contracts. But if we cave and settle, we lose credibility. It's a no-win situation that we have to win anyway. Sounds familiar. Yeah, you've been living that for 5 years. She closed her laptop. Which is why I think you should do the Tribune interview. Victoria Bott, hear me out. Marcus is painting himself as the victim. Successful executive betrayed by a disgruntled employee. It's a narrative people understand because it happens all the time. We need to show them what actually happened. Show them you. And what am I supposed to say? My wife died, so I sold my work for peanuts and then got screwed? That's not inspiring. That's just sad. It's human. And humans connect to other humans, not to corporate statements and legal documents. Victoria stood, walking around her desk. You don't have to be a hero. Just tell the truth about what happened and why it matters. Let people see the person behind the lawsuit. Ethan wanted to say no. Wanted to stay invisible, protected, out of the spotlight. But he thought about the woman in the lobby who'd thanked him for speaking up, about his team working late to fix problems they didn't create, about Lily telling her class that her daddy was brave. I'll think about it, he said. That's all I'm asking. They ordered dinner, Thai from the place 2 blocks away, and ate in Victoria's office while rain hammered against the windows. The conversation drifted away from work. Victoria talked about growing up in Seattle, about her mother's death, about taking the CEO position, knowing half the board wanted someone older, more experienced, more male. They're waiting for me to fail, she said. Every decision, every quarterly report, every time something goes wrong. They're keeping score. So prove them wrong. I'm trying, but it's exhausting being watched all the time, knowing that one mistake could validate every doubt they ever had. Ethan understood that. The weight of being a single father, knowing that any failure, forgetting a permission slip, being late to pick up, missing a school event, would be seen as proof he couldn't handle it alone. You're doing better than you think, he said. How do you know? Because your team respects you. Because you fight for what's right even when it's hard. Because you gave me my name back when you could have just paid me to go away. He paused. That matters. Victoria looked at him for a long moment. You matter too, Ethan. I hope you know that. Something shifted in the air between them. Ethan felt it. A charge. A possibility. Something he wasn't ready to examine too closely. He stood quickly. I should go. Let you finish your work. Yeah, okay. Victoria stood as well. Thanks for dinner. And the conversation. Any time. He left before the moment could stretch into something more complicated. On the bus ride home, he stared out the window and tried not to think about the way Victoria had looked at him, or the way his chest had tightened when she said he mattered. This was his boss, his colleague, the person fighting Marcus's lawsuit alongside him. Getting involved beyond that was a terrible idea that would complicate everything. And yet, the Tribune interview happened 3 days later. Ethan met the reporter, a woman named Sarah Cho, mid-30s, sharp eyes, at a coffee shop near Titancore. She had a recorder, a notebook, and questions that cut straight through his defenses. Why didn't you fight back when Marcus first stole your work? Because fighting meant lawyers I couldn't afford, and time I didn't have. Meant my wife was dying. My daughter was 2. Survival took priority over justice. Do you regret that choice? Ethan thought about it. I regret that I had to make it, but no, I'd do the same thing again. Sarah needed me. Lily needed me. The work could wait. And now I have the space to fight, and the responsibility to make sure what happened to me doesn't happen to someone else. Sarah wrote quickly, then looked up. Marcus Vane is suing you for $10 million. He's calling you a liar. Does that make you angry? Angry doesn't cover it, but anger's not useful. Facts are useful. Documentation is useful. The truth is useful. Some people say you're doing this for attention, for money. Those people don't know me. I turned down a settlement. I could have stayed quiet and walked away with a check. I chose this instead because my daughter deserves to grow up knowing her father stood up for himself. Because the engineers working under me deserve to know that credit theft isn't acceptable. Because silence protects people like Marcus and destroys people like me. The interview lasted 90 minutes. By the end, Ethan felt wrung out, exposed. Sarah promised the article would run Sunday. He thanked her and left, feeling like he'd just opened a vein for public consumption. Victoria called that night. How'd it go? I either made everything better or much worse. Won't know until Sunday. You did the right thing. Hope so. I know so. A pause. Ethan? Yeah? I'm glad you're here, not just for the work. For all of it. Ethan didn't know what to say to that. The line went quiet for a moment before Victoria spoke again. Sorry, that was inappropriate. No, it wasn't. He stopped. What was he trying to say? That he felt the same way? That the boundaries between professional and personal were getting blurry, and he didn't mind as much as he should? We should talk, Victoria said, after the lawsuit stuff settles, about this, whatever this is. Yeah, we should. They hung up. Ethan sat in his dark apartment thinking about complications and possibilities, and the fact that for the first time in years, he felt like something other than just Lily's father or just an engineer. He felt like himself. The article ran Sunday morning. Ethan avoided reading it until Lily went down for her nap, then finally opened his laptop. The headline read, "The Engineer Who Refused to Stay Silent, Ethan Brooks and the Fight Against Corporate Theft." Sarah had written 5,000 words. She'd tracked down former colleagues who confirmed Marcus's pattern of stealing credit. She'd interviewed patent lawyers who explained how companies routinely exploited desperate employees. She'd found the hospital where Sarah Brooks had been treated and confirmed the timeline of Ethan's desperation. But the part that made Ethan's hands shake was the ending. Ethan Brooks is not a hero. He's a father, an engineer, a widower trying to build a life from the ruins of loss. What makes his story matter is not that he's exceptional, it's that he's ordinary. Corporate fraud happens to ordinary people every day. The difference is Brooks decided to fight back, not for money, not for fame, but because staying silent would have taught his daughter that injustice is acceptable if it's convenient. In choosing to speak, Brooks offers something more valuable than a legal victory. He offers proof that the truth still matters, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Ethan closed the laptop. His phone was already buzzing, texts from colleagues, voicemails from journalists, emails from strangers saying thank you or you're wrong or both. Victoria called at 3. You read it? Yeah. How do you feel? Exposed, terrified, like I can't take it back even if I wanted to. Do you want to? Ethan thought about Lily, still napping in her room, about his team fixing Marcus's mistakes, about 5 years of silence that had nearly crushed him. No, he said, I don't. The lawsuit took 4 months to collapse. Marcus's lawyers couldn't produce evidence supporting his claims. The documentation Ethan provided was too complete, too damning. By August, Patricia filed a motion to dismiss. By September, a judge granted it. Marcus's case died without ever reaching trial. Titan Core issued a statement. Marcus issued a bitter non-apology. The tech press moved on to the next scandal, and Ethan kept working. His team grew to 12 engineers. They fixed the critical vulnerabilities, rebuilt the authentication architecture, implemented new security protocols that actually made sense. The work was hard, often frustrating, occasionally boring. It was also exactly what Ethan was good at. In October, 6 months after everything started, Victoria called him into her office. The board wants to give you an award at the annual meeting, Ethan groaned. Please, no. I said the same thing. They insisted. Victoria smiled. Something about recognizing integrity and technical excellence. I don't want an award. I want to do my job. You can have both. Besides, Lily would love to see you get a trophy. It's not a trophy. It's probably a plaque. Fine. Lily would love to see you get a plaque. She was right. When Ethan told Lily about it, she insisted on coming to the ceremony, insisted on wearing her purple dress, insisted that Victoria had to be there too. It's her work meeting, Bug. She'll be there anyway. But she has to sit with us. That's the rule. What rule? The friend rule. Friends sit together. The annual meeting was everything Ethan hated. Formal, public, full of speeches. But when they called his name and he walked to the stage, he looked out at the audience and saw Lily in the front row, standing on her chair, clapping so hard her hands must have hurt. Next to her, his mother was crying. And next to his mother, Victoria was smiling. He accepted the plaque, said a few words about teamwork and doing the right thing, walked off stage feeling embarrassed and grateful in equal measure. After the ceremony, Lily ran up and grabbed the plaque. "Can I keep this in my room?" "It's my award, Bug. But I want to show it to my friends. Please?" "Fine, but don't lose it." She ran off to show Ethan's mother. Victoria approached, looking almost shy. "Congratulations." "Thanks. For everything. I know you pushed for this. You earned it." She glanced at where Lily was gesturing excitedly at the plaque. "She's amazing." "Yeah, she is." "Ethan." Victoria stopped, started again. "Remember when I said we should talk? After the lawsuit settled?" "Yeah." "The lawsuit settled." His heart kicked. "It is. So maybe we could have dinner. Not work dinner. Real dinner." Ethan looked at her. Victoria Hale, CEO, 30 years old, brilliant and fierce, and somehow standing here nervous about asking him to dinner. "I have Lily this weekend," he said. "So bring her. We'll go somewhere with good pancakes. You know that's her main criterion for friendship, right? Pancake quality." "I'm aware. I take it very seriously." They smiled at each other. Across the room, Lily was watching them with the kind of intense focus 5-year-olds deployed when they sense something important happening. "Okay," Ethan said. "Dinner, the three of us." "Good. That's good." Well, Victoria left before the moment could get more awkward. Ethan's mother appeared at his elbow. "That woman likes you." "Mom, I'm just saying she looks at you the way your father looked at me, like you're the most interesting person in the room." "You're reading too much into it." "Am I?" His mother smiled. "Sarah would have liked her, just so you know." "Yes, sabab baz raisam." The comment hit harder than Ethan expected. He'd spent 3 years protecting Sarah's memory, holding it so carefully that any new feeling seemed like betrayal. But standing here, watching Lily show the plaque to anyone who'd look, he wondered if maybe that wasn't what Sarah would have wanted. Maybe she'd want him to be happy, to let someone in, to build something new without forgetting what he'd lost. Maybe grief and joy could exist in the same space. Saturday morning, they met at a diner on the north side, the kind of place that served breakfast all day and didn't care if a 5-year-old brought a stuffed purple bear to the table. Lily ordered pancakes immediately. Victoria ordered the same. Ethan got coffee and eggs and watched his daughter charm Victoria with stories about kindergarten and the aquarium field trip and her friend Emma, who still sometimes took things that weren't hers. "But she gives them back now," Lily explained, "because I told her taking stuff makes people sad." "That's very wise," Victoria said. I know, I'm very wise for 5. Almost 6. Ethan corrected. "Daddy, my birthday's in 4 months. That's not almost. It's closer than it was yesterday." Lily considered this logic and decided to ignore it. She turned to Victoria. "Are you going to come to my birthday party?" Victoria glanced at Ethan. He shrugged, leaving it up to her. "If I'm invited," Victoria said. "You're invited. I'm inviting you right now. It's going to be at the park, and we're having cake and presents and probably a piñata if Daddy stops being worried about the cost." "I'm not worried about the cost. I'm worried about you hitting other kids with a stick." "It's a supervised stick. That's different." They finished breakfast, walked to the park afterward, Lily running ahead to the swings. Ethan and Victoria followed more slowly. "She's something else," Victoria said. "That's one way to put it. You're a good father." "I try. Most days I feel like I'm barely holding it together." "That's called being a parent. My mom used to say the same thing." Victoria stopped walking. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Are you okay with this? Us having breakfast, spending time together. I don't want to push if you're not ready." Ethan looked at her. Really looked. Victoria, who'd given him his name back, who'd fought Marcus, who'd sat in her office eating Thai food and talking about anything except work, who looked at Lily like she mattered. "I'm not ready," he said honestly, "but I don't think I'll ever be completely ready." Sarah's gone. That doesn't stop hurting. But it also doesn't mean I have to be alone forever. I'm not asking you to forget her. I know. And I'm not asking you to compete with a ghost. Just patience. While I figure this out, I can do patience. They stood there on the edge of the playground while Lily swung higher and higher, laughing at something only she understood. Chicago sprawled around them, vast and indifferent. But in this small moment, it felt manageable. Lily called out, "Daddy! Victoria, watch this!" She jumped off the swing at the height of the arc, landed hard, stumbled, fell, got up grinning with scraped palms. "Did you see?" "I saw," Ethan called back. "That was terrifying. That was awesome." She ran off to the slide. Ethan and Victoria looked at each other and laughed. "She's going to give you gray hair," Victoria said. "She already has." They stayed at the park another hour. When they finally headed home, Lily held both their hands, swinging between them, chattering about the birthday party that was still 4 months away. "And Victoria has to come because she's my friend. Right, Victoria?" "Right. And friends come to birthday parties. That's the rule." "You have a lot of rules," Ethan observed. "Because rules are important. They keep things organized." At Ethan's apartment building, Victoria said goodbye. Lily hugged her immediately, fierce and unself-conscious. "See you soon?" "See you soon," Victoria promised. After she left, Lily turned to Ethan. "I like her." "I know, Bug. Do you like her?" "Yeah, I do." "Good, because I already drew a picture of our family and she's in it. You drew that weeks ago." "I know. I'm very smart about these things." Ethan carried her upstairs, thinking about family and the way it expanded to include people you didn't expect. His apartment felt less cramped than usual. The drawings on the walls felt like evidence of a life being built, not just survived. That night, after Lily was asleep, Ethan pulled out the small box he kept in his closet. Inside were photos of Sarah, their wedding, Lily's birth, random moments captured before everything fell apart. He looked through them slowly, remembering. "I met someone," he said, to the photos, to the memory, to whatever remained of the woman he'd loved. "She's good, smart. Lily loves her. I think you would too." The photos didn't answer, but Ethan felt something loosen in his chest anyway. Permission, maybe. Or just the recognition that holding on too tight meant never being able to reach for anything new. He put the photos back, left the box open. A reminder that Sarah was part of his story, but she didn't have to be the whole story. There was room for more. Months passed. The work continued. Marcus disappeared from the industry exactly as Victoria had promised. The lawsuit faded into history. Titan Core stabilized, then thrived. Ethan's team became the model for how technical divisions should operate. Collaborative, innovative, honest about problems instead of hiding them. Other departments started copying their approach. The company culture shifted slowly towards something that actually valued integrity over appearances. In December, nearly a year after everything started, Ethan and Victoria made it official. Not with announcements or fanfare, just a quiet acknowledgement that what they'd been building together extended beyond work. Lily was thrilled. Ethan's mother cried again. The engineering team made jokes about the boss dating the other boss, then went back to work because there were still vulnerabilities to fix and systems to improve. It wasn't perfect. Ethan still had moments of panic, still worried he was betraying Sarah's memory, still felt guilty for being happy. Victoria still carried the weight of running a company, still fought with board members who doubted her, still worked too many hours. But they figured it out together, slowly, imperfectly, honestly. On Lily's 6th birthday, they threw a party at the park. 30 kids, way too much cake, a piñata that Lily destroyed with terrifying efficiency. Victoria helped organize games while Ethan's mother supervised the chaos, and Ethan took pictures of everything. At one point, Lily dragged Victoria over to where Ethan stood. "Take a picture of all of us." The whole family. Ethan looked at Victoria, who nodded. They stood together. Ethan, Victoria, Lily, with frosting on her face and the purple bear under one arm. His mother took the photo. Later, when the party wound down and most of the guests had left, Lily presented Ethan with a drawing. 3 figures holding hands under a purple sun. But behind them, sketched lightly in pencil, was a 4th figure, smaller, watching. "That's Mama," Lily said quietly. She's still here, just different. Ethan's throat closed. He pulled Lily into a hug, holding her tight while she squirmed. Daddy, you're squishing me. Sorry, Bug. It's okay. I know you get emotional about art. Victoria knelt beside them. It's a beautiful drawing, Lily. I know. I worked really hard on it. She looked at both of them seriously. Are you happy? Ethan glanced at Victoria, who smiled. Yeah, Bug. I'm happy. Good. Because that's the most important rule, being happy. She ran off to play with the last remaining kids. Ethan stood up, Victoria beside him. She's right, you know, Victoria said. About which part? All of it, but especially the happy part. They watched Lily chase her friends around the playground, purple dress flying, laughter bright and uncomplicated. The sun was setting over Chicago, painting the sky in shades of gold and amber. The air smelled like autumn leaves and birthday cake. Ethan thought about the journey that had brought him here, the loss, the theft, the years of silence, the decision to fight back. None of it had been easy. None of it had followed a plan. But somehow it had led to this moment, this family, this fragile, beautiful thing they were building together. Yeah, he said, I'm happy too. And he meant it, because here's the thing about truth that nobody tells you. It doesn't always win quickly. It doesn't always come with rewards or recognition. Sometimes speaking up costs more than staying silent. Sometimes fighting back means years of struggle with no guarantee of victory. But truth has a weight that lies can never match. It builds foundations that last. It creates space for actual connection instead of performance. It teaches the people watching, especially the small ones who draw purple families and believe in rules about happiness, that integrity matters more than convenience. Ethan had lost 5 years to silence. He'd lost his wife to cancer, his work to theft, his identity to someone else's ambition. But he'd also found something he didn't know he was looking for, proof that standing up for yourself, even when it's terrifying, creates possibilities that silence never could. He'd found his name again, found his voice, found people who saw him as more than just a tool or a problem or a ghost haunting his own life. He'd found Victoria, who fought battles she didn't have to fight because it was right, found a team who trusted him to lead not through authority, but through honesty. Found his daughter learning that brave doesn't mean fearless. It means scared but moving forward anyway. The lawsuit was over. Marcus was gone. The work continued because it always would. But the fight, the real fight, wasn't about any of that. It was about refusing to disappear, about demanding to be seen, about teaching Lily that when someone tries to erase you, you write yourself back in, louder and clearer than before. Not because you're a hero, but because you're human. And humans deserve to be more than just footnotes in someone else's story. They deserve their names, their truth, their space to build something new from what they've lost. And sometimes, if they're lucky, they get it. Ethan Brooks was lucky. Not because everything worked out perfectly, but because when it mattered most, he chose truth over silence, fight over flight, hope over resignation. And that choice made all the difference. The sun finished setting. Lily ran over, exhausted and happy, ready to go home. Victoria helped pack up the party supplies while Ethan's mother gathered leftover cake. They walked together toward the parking lot, Lily between them, still chattering about the best birthday ever. Above them, the first stars were appearing. Chicago stretched out in all directions, full of other stories, other struggles, other people trying to figure out how to keep going when everything felt impossible. But in this small moment, this small family, there was only light. And that was enough.